We probably experienced that change when you have even a minor change like we're going through at Keesler. We probably experienced that in a little more connected way to those family members that we have that have roots here. When I served a period of time on the active component, and one of the things that was constant, like the general says, is change, and even on an individual family basis, that included every 2 to 3 years we would move. A lot of our members have been members of the 403rd for decades. And many of our members, when they join the 403rd, will be expected to have serving our organization for their entire careers. That's an option that our military gives us, that, hey, if I don't want to move around anymore, but I still want to serve my country, I want to keep that oath that I swore, we give you that opportunity. And the same goes with our partners in the Mississippi Guard. So that's sort of our connection there. So when we go through a change, a lot of you are feeling those ripples, and we recognize that. We understand that. I also recognize that when you go through a change like this, all of us recognize the budget limitations of our federal government. And so those of us in the military aren't, just like you, we recognize that you also recognize someone's got to cut. And not everyone can say, hey, well, you can't cut in my backyard. We all recognize that. I know you in the Gulf Coast region have already experienced that. You've already seen some of those cuts. One of the things that I think really I appreciate about the Keesler area is I got the opportunity to listen to the official 81st Training Wing formal briefing yesterday, and that was actually the first time I got the full presentation of the formal briefing. And the thing that stood out to me the most was this is the smallest Air Force base in the Air Force, but it is voted and judged to be the best Air Force base. So you have the smallest footprint of U.S. resource in the Air Force, but the #1 base in the Air Force. And that is a tremendous... So I can say, just like you, when I see the cuts coming at Keesler, my heart beats a little faster and say, man, I would have thought, in just my mind, in my stovepipe thinking, that maybe that's not a good idea. But I also have to recognize that there are, not everybody who's outside of our installation makes foolish choices. Understanding how those connect to the broader picture is important for all of us, especially when it comes to advocacy. I really appreciate organizations like this, because as our introduction included, is I don't have the authority to lobby Congress on their behalf. Now, some of our counterparts in here do. For example, our Guard members do have that authority, and we have a close relationship with the Guard. But we appreciate the folks that live and work here full-time, that this is your community, and we're connected to you also, and this is your role. We really appreciate seeing this many people on a morning like this that said, hey, we are here to advocate where perhaps those of us in uniform it's not appropriate. So I want to get to kind of what's going on in the 403rd. So we're the ones that have the airplanes. We're the last flying organization now at Keesler. There used to be, over the years, you've seen different flying organizations at Keesler. We're down to one flying organization. That's my group, the 403rd group. And we have 20 aircraft assigned, 20 C-130Js. Those aircraft were appropriated in the late 90s, early 2000s. And we have a closure notice to close one of our flying squadrons, actually 2 of our flying squadrons. We have 2 that fly the C-130J tactical mission. That's the non-Hurricane Hunters. We say the not world-famous squadron when we talk about them. But they're the ones that just got back from a deployment overseas. They're the ones that do the combat delivery of troops and supplies. That's the organization that flies the formations that you'll see flying down the coast and does the airdrops over at Stennis. We're losing 10 of those aircraft. So 50% of our aircraft are departing, and that is closing 2 flying squadrons. The way that works out in our organization is the ancillary support that goes along with that, the folks that bust their knuckles and bend I would almost say bend the metal. They fix the metal that we bend, but they're the ones that turn the wrenches, and we're losing a portion of those folks too. And Marnie, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's somewhere around 100, a little more than 100 full-time employees and a couple hundred additional part-time employees that we're losing out of that force. In addition, they announced that they're going to close our civil engineering squadron, which is about 100, I think it's 138 people total. So there's some big cuts for us in an organization of about just under 1,700 folks. it's a big change for us also. One thing that you need to understand about the type of aircraft, we have the Hurricane Hunters, which you see all the time on TV. We have our probably underappreciated tactical airlift squadrons. Those two capabilities have never existed separately at Keesler before. So we sort of have this inter-reliance on these missions. We're going to keep the Hurricane Hunters, but we don't know how that's going to affect us when we pull those apart. I kind of described it, if you have conjoined twins, you're not going to pull those twins apart without leaving a scar somewhere. So we're trying to work on how do we minimize that scar, make sure we maintain our full capability in the Hurricane Hunters. But it is a big change. That'll be the fewest aircraft assigned to Keesler in modern times. And